something you can't fix.
If you can't fix what's broken, you'll go insane.
It's Jay and Adam. It's Preview.
It's Preview's Fix It with Adam and Jay.
Hey, Peaches! Welcome to Fix It, where friends don't let friends fix pop culture alone.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Jay. And you're our listener.
Hey there, listeners.
Hey there, listeners.
Let us know what initiative number did you guys get. Let us know in the comments. So we can go through this. We can go through this roll call by initiative order.
Welcome to Fix It. I'm Jay. That's the ever lovely Adam.
Aw.
The level 4 charm spell of a man, Adam Lash.
Is that how charm works? I've never played a bard, Jay. I don't know.
And this is our podcast, Fix It. You may know the two of us from our absolute critical success, the Nat 20 of a YouTube reaction channel previewed.
I really like that.
Yeah, I themed it.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree. You may know us from there, or you may know us from, just being around. I don't know. But this, here at Fix It, we take, every week, we take a piece of pop culture that maybe missed the mark, maybe didn't quite get there, maybe just didn't get just enough to that Constitution saving role, and we fix it. And today here on this episode, we are fixing from the year 2000.
From the year 2000. From the year 2000.
Yeah, that was good. I'm sure that
I backed away from the mic. I feel like
I was trying to match you. That I leaned into the mic. Probably this is a big fail from across the board.
I think Brian. Good job, Brian. Way
Brian.
to equalize that
Really
audio, buddy.
Auto-tuned that. Made it so good. We're fixing Dungeons and Dragons.
The movie that truly rolled a nat 1.
It really, and it here's the thing. It rolled a nat 1, and it had a proficiency modifier that it really could have cleared that check pretty easily.
It could have.
It really could have.
It really could have.
And wowzers bowsers, did they critically fail?
It was a DC of, I believe, 2, Jay?
Yeah.
And it rolled a nat 1.
Yeah, it was just, yep.
It had advantage.
It TPK'd itself.
We've never seen the likes, Jay.
And
unfortunately, we did actually see it this week.
There are a lot of, I feel like there are a lot of people who are maybe movie fans or just maybe comic book and sci-fi nerds who listen to this show,
Quite possibly,
who are
yes.
not D&D people and have no idea what we're talking
Guys,
about.
sorry, this whole episode's going to be laced with this stuff.
Yeah,
we
and
really do love Dungeons and Dragons
really
and RPGs.
We're big into them, but before we hop into just straight dunking on Dungeons.
We're going to dunk on this movie.
Straight before we start playfully dunking on Dungeons and Dragons, Adam, how you doing?
Jay, I'm doing okay. This was last week was pretty good. We finished Willow, which was pretty good.
Willow was the little show that was really trying.
It tried, got a lot of things right, but not all the things that it got right were in the right order. It didn't sell all the cool things it was doing properly.
That's the
Does
thing.
that make sense?
That was the thing. Yes, when people have been showing up to stream and stuff and want to talk about Willow, and I'm like, I cannot really put my finger on what didn't work about Willow,
Mm-hmm.
but there is something there.
There's something
that
lacking.
just didn't kind of push it over the finish line for me.
Because everything on paper, it checks all the boxes. It
had the right sense
everything.
of humor. It had a lot of the right shots. It had a lot of the practical effects that we were looking for.
Mm-hmm.
It has Willow's heart in there.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, "Oh, well maybe you just didn't really like." I'm like, "No, I was excited to see Warwick Davis show back up again. Like I like these characters." And there just was something there that just didn't I just didn't find it when we got to that finale. When we beat, we defeated the bad guy. I wasn't as woohoo as I thought I was gonna be.
I think that was the problem with the show. It didn't craft its low moments with the characters, building them back up to be the here we go, and the music swells, and Allura's like, I'm all red haired now, and I'm gonna kick some ass. Like, yeah, but like she did that thing.
Yes,
Kit got the Doom armor and did that thing
1,000%.
But in presenting them achieving their Super Saiyan status, it did not present it in a way where you're just like, let's go. Like, it was just like, oh, this is happening. This is cool.
Yeah, I was like, I'm having fun, but
I'm having fun, but I am not on this ride emotionally because you didn't tie my emotions to this. Things just happened here. Yeah. And it didn't fully explain all the stuff happening.
Uh-huh.
I think same story, crafted with a slightly better hand towards the selling those bigger moments.
Yeah.
Probably the show is, I think it's editing. Honestly, it's editing, and maybe a day's worth of reshoots would probably fix the whole thing.
Yeah,
to be honest.
so.
It's not, because it's not far off. It's only a couple of degrees off. So, I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah. It flummoxes me. Because you're like, how'd you like Willow? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun.
So we finished Willow. That's good. Get that off the board. We're
we also
walking through Wednesday.
We got Wednesday on the thoroughly on the board.
We got 2 more left.
The Peaches are very happy about that.
And you know what? Turns out they were very right. The show's amazing.
The show's really good. It's really good. It's not. It's, you know what it is. Wednesday is the polar opposite of Willow. I can't really tell you what the secret ingredient of Wednesday is, but it's like one of those things where it's like there are so many potholes that this show could have landed in.
Yes,
but it is just running that fence right down the middle. Nothing's ever too much. Nothing's ever too dramatic. Nothing's ever too silly. It's just, it's like it is a Goldilocks show. It's just right.
It's like somebody running the first course of American Ninja Warrior, full tilt,
and just nailing it,
crushing it. No trips, no slips, just everything on the first try,
and making it look easy.
And making it look just flying down the course, and you're like, how are they?
And it's the first one out the gate, and you're like, oh well, maybe everyone's gonna nail it, and then everyone comes afterwards and just like eats crap. It's like, they were just really good at. Okay,
yeah, I think the guy just broke his leg. So that's good. We got a couple more episodes left. But really, Jay, this week has been dominated by us trying to set up our infrastructure, behind the scenes stuff. Because we got Grace on board. Grace came in through the city. Our editor Grace. We had breakfast with her. It was fantastic.
Love you, Grace.
Our DM David for our
for bonus action.
Our
D&D content that is coming soon.
Well, I don't, guys. I have some unfortunate news. We can't. Our D&D show is probably never going to happen.
This is news to me.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, Jay.
Cool, man.
I don't think we're ever going to release a D&D show.
Okay.
But bonus action, the tabletop role-playing game, is coming. Coming to Yo Domes real soonish. Because David texted us at the beginning of the week, and I was like, hey, guys, this is happening. And it was like, hey, here's a link to a news report and a TikTok of like, hey, by the way, the people that own Dungeons and Dragons are apparently pretty evil, and they would like all of everyone's monies, please.
Yep.
And the community has been like, no?
For those of you who are not totally up on everything, Wizards of the Coast is something leaked from an internal email about an update to their open game license. And basically they are, D&D has existed, at least in 5e, has existed in an open game license situation where they are very welcoming to outside creators and content creators and of all sorts of ilk. And if you want to add to the game in a way, there are routes to do so. And it seems like this OGL is going to make a lot of that extraordinarily difficult.
Apparently, like back in the past, you could just make stuff off of D&D. You could just use stuff from D&D and make stuff and have fun. Like, you know, like
at least in 5e. 4 was there.
Did they have a different OGL and stuff?
There's been a lot of There's been a lot. This is not necessarily new to a degree.
Interesting. Okay.
We're oversimplifying a lot of this.
Yes,
obviously,
because this is all new to me as of this week. I've been watching my feed's just been full of videos of like D&D is dying and oh my god, can you believe what Hasbro is doing? But apparently, if going forward, Hasbro, the people that own Wizards of the Coast, apparently saw that D&D was under-monetized, and like, we need to make more money from this IP that we own.
Well, I mean, it has exploded in the past 5 years.
Well, yeah, and rightfully so, because of Critical Role.
Yeah.
And D20. And a bunch of... And the infrastructure that was already there over decades of people pouring their love and passion into this thing.
Yep.
That, like, D&D was set to explode into pop culture.
Yeah.
And now that it is, and the people who own the property aren't getting enough money out of it, they're like, hey, allegedly, I would like more money, please.
Money, please.
And so they're going about legal ways to get money from the people who put their hard sweat and tears into this thing to make a living off of it. And they're like, well, you can't anymore because this money's mine. So it's been crazy watching this thing that like just got here almost implode.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really as content creators who are trying to who are making efforts to break into that space. It was a little bit of it was like the day after we were like, okay, cool, we have a game plan.
Yes, Dave was gonna do the stuff.
Great,
yeah,
we're gonna get this set up. Like
we know what we're doing.
We're gonna have a good amount of content for them in the next 6 months here, and let's party. The next day was like, you guys, hey, this might not be such a good idea.
Yeah. So the community itself, as it stands right now, as we're recording this on Friday afternoon, as it stands right now, from what I've seen from videos on YouTube of people who are way more plugged into the stuff than I am.
Yeah.
Wizards of the Coast have allegedly come out with a different statement saying okay, we're maybe not going to do this new legal framework for using our stuff yet. But, we still have plans to do stuff later because we're listening to the community. Because the community's like, hey, a lot of people on Twitter just, ending their accounts at D&D Beyond.
Yeah.
And just, and posting it on Twitter.
The bottom line is the only thing, from a money perspective, is the only thing that if this is all a money decision, then, that's what's going to have to, The amount of TikTok creators have been like, hey, just cancel your D&D Beyond subscription. And I was like, oh, all right. Cool. I guess I will.
I can do that.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Boop. Done.
Other tabletop gaming systems have been like, okay, we'll make our own OGL, so you guys can just use, I didn't even know there were other systems out there but apparently there's a ton of them, and people are gonna just step into the breach of if D&D is going down, well, you can use ours. It's fine. Don't worry about that.
Well, but also bonus action might be Monster of the Week. It might be Blades in the Dark. It might be Shadowrun. Who's to say?
We don't know.
It might end up being D&D if everything gets cleaned up with all of this. It might be Pathfinder.
It might be a brand new thing David works on.
Yeah, it might be it might just be a bunch of coin flips, a sequence of coin flips.
Sequence of coin
flips.
You
get all the good coins, and then you know.
Yeah, it's a coin collecting game.
Yeah, I'm into it. It might be Pokemon. Who's to say?
I am. No, it's not, it will not be Pokemon.
Come on, coward.
So just the general making content and making a living off of D&D is in flux right now. But here's the other really weird thing that we find ourselves in. Hey, there's a show basically based on this coming out next week this week that when you're listening to this in Vox Machina, which we are very excited about.
Oh yeah.
And there's a movie coming out called Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves, that comes out in March. So basically 2 weeks,
and it looks
2 months,
awesome.
And it looks awesome. Also, we just found out today, Paramount Plus just bought a Dungeons and Dragons TV show.
Heck yeah, man.
So they're making actual TV shows and movies off of this property.
Mentally, I'm trying to separate I'm trying to separate the product from the company.
Sure.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I do know what you're saying,
But
if the people who own the IP were really interested in turning a large profit off of that IP, trying to screw over the hardcore fan base that would go to see your movie because you called it Dungeons and Dragons, because you didn't have to. It could have been named anything else and just used, and just like, oh, it's a bard, it's a barbarian. Like, oh, yes, we know these things.
yeah,
Oh, this is fun. It's kind of like an RPG or like a tabletop RPG. Oh, cool. Well, it's kind of like Dungeons and Dragons. Neat. No. You're calling it Dungeons and Dragons specifically to get the people who play Dungeons and Dragons to go to the movie theater to watch this movie.
yeah,
And you got an all-star cast. 2 months before this movie comes out.
Yeah. A lot of people are saying we need to boycott this movie, but I don't know if I can.
You're right.
Gotta be honest.
I know, but
I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
oh, absolutely. It's just from an industry standpoint, when you have a big movie coming out on top of, from a third-party group in Critical Role, basically the reason why Dungeons and Dragons could get a movie
You
to
could say
begin
there's a
with.
lot of different reasons, but Critical Role, they're the reason.
They are the reason.
They're the reason.
They were the Pathfinders.
Yes.
They scouted ahead. They made this thing. Everyone else
And they
is
started
surfing-
in Pathfinder, which is interesting.
Yeah. That's why I said it, Jay.
I know, it's fun.
Okay.
I know.
But everyone's
But again, we have to remember that not everyone listening to this
yes,
really
you're right.
knows what
Not
we're talking
yes,
about.
I'm trying to keep it. I'm trying to keep this dumb, but also just
This is a nerd show.
pepper in a couple.
But
of,
we can't alienate everyone.
I've been doing a lot of research this week, Jay, and the things I'm saying reflect all the research I've been doing.
Oh, really? Did you write a lot of words?
I tried not to write a lot of words, but like a lot of all the D20, all the other stuff has been surfing in Critical Role's wake. So the reason why there's a show coming in Paramount Plus, maybe, and the reason why the movie was made, is now possibly getting screwed over, and then they will like, okay, well, we're not going to use D&D anymore. We're going to use something else, and then that something else will get propped up,
Yeah.
and D&D will get, will wither on the vine.
yeah.
So it's just from how the entertainment industry works. Just it's interesting to see these people allegedly make these moves that would really ruin their chances for the one thing they really want by not understanding what their fan base actually wants.
Yeah.
And it's all happened this week, and it's only speeding up. It's insane. And somehow we're doing an episode about Dungeons and Dragons, the movie from 22 years ago, just as this is happening.
Yeah.
This is the first time we've really, like, usually we just kind of like, oh, what movie's coming out? We'll try to, coordinate what movie we talk about to the movie coming out soon. But now we got a third heat coming in of, like, no actual nerd news that's burning across the internet right in time with what we're talking about on the episode. This has been an insane week of just, watching this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been crazy.
Fascinating. I've been fascinated by
It
it.
should be interesting. I mean, we'll see how the cards land. You know what I mean? It's at this point, it feels like a dice roll. It
Does feel like a dice roll.
It's just kind of like, okay.
It's gonna be interesting if the community comes back, because I feel at this point, to be honest, I feel like the damage is done.
I don't know, man.
To walk this back and to be like, oh, we promise we'll never do this again. I don't know, man. It feels like the community might be a little too savvy about that and be like, well, how can we ever trust you?
If Cobalt Press comes out with their own game, I'm gonna play that one. Straight up. The amount of stuff they come out with is nuts. But anyways. So you're okay?
Yeah, I'm doing all right.
All right, cool. I got a comically large water bottle, so I'm doing good too.
Is that new?
Dude, I got the most basic white girl Stanley large water bottle. It fits an entire liter and it's huge and I love it.
I didn't know that was in the white girl starter pack, Jay.
Oh, it's like the meme right now. Everyone's getting this bottle.
Oh, really?
And it was like one of those things where I saw a bunch of TikToks like people like dunking on people for getting this bottle, and I was like, I want that bottle. So I got one.
Okay.
Yeah, and I regret nothing.
And you put stickers on it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I got a little D20 Cthulhu, and I got a little sorcerer because I am a sorcerer.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. People are like, "You're a bard, Jay." I'm like, "No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No,
He is not.
No, I'm a charisma spellcaster.
Yes,
but the gift is inside me.
Mm-hmm.
And you're a wizard. Because you cast all the spells, but you worked hard to get
I
those
did. I
spells.
had to learn and read so many things, Jay. You're just walking in here like, I could just do it. I don't know how it happened.
I don't know.
I guess I'm just special.
Meta magic. Who knows?
I had to learn.
Fireball. I don't know how I do it. I just do.
It took me 6 months for my first flame bolt.
Yeah.
You ass.
Yeah. I sneezed out a shocking grasp. I just. All right. So Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons and Dragons.
The 2000s film.
And this is the first time I've ever seen it.
Oh, this is the first time I've ever seen it either, as well, because I have heard it was not worth the time. You know.
Honestly, I was surprised that they even attempted to make a Dungeons and Dragons movie 22 years ago.
Yes,
because like just looking back, just in general, at that point I was 21, and I was like, why would D&D was not big at the turn of the millennium.
In no way.
So like, why would you make a movie labeled Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah, I don't know.
Doesn't make any sense.
I know it was really what it came down to. It was that like, and it goes into my fix is that I just like fundamentally don't understand. I don't understand how this movie got made. I don't understand. There's so much about this movie that absolutely flummoxes me.
Oh yeah.
From a design perspective, from a brand perspective, I just don't know. This movie feels like to me that like at one point in like the 80s, like they spent money to buy the rights for a quote unquote D&D movie, and the rights were about to lapse, and they're like, we have the rights, we
have to make a movie. Or
we
lose
gotta
the rights.
make movie or lose the rights. That's what this feels like to me.
That makes sense.
Like it's the kind of this movie feels like we're gonna write this off in some way, kind of thing, because the lack of care that went into this film.
That makes sense.
Just it feels to me like, and like we're gonna get Jeremy Irons just so they don't suspect that we're just throwing this movie away.
Yeah.
But this movie to me feels like something that like they would like the producers, you know, like the musical.
Yes.
Like, they're like,
yes.
Oh, we're gonna make a D&D movie and everyone's gonna hate it, but
we'll make so much money.
But we'll get to claim the loss and move, and it's gonna save our tax here, and won't that be nice?
Before we get too much further into. How about we do the plot drop this week?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, can you? So, since I rambled on about all the stuff going on with actual D&D right now in the present, Jay, why don't you give us, as quickly as possible, the plot of Dungeons and Dragons from 2000?
Dungeons and Dragons, as quickly as possible. There is an empress who is trying to bridge the gap between common man and the mages in her mythical city. And she has a scepter that can control golden dragons. And there's an evil wizard who's trying to get a scepter to control the red dragons to fight her. And two thieves find themselves in the wrong place at the wrong time and set off on an adventure to help a mage apprentice find the red rod. They find it. It gets stolen and delivered to the bad magic guy. The dragons fight, and then the good guys win. Ta-da!
Yep, nailed it.
That's it.
That's pretty much what it happens, and that's actually better than what actually happens in the movie.
It's pretty succinct.
Yeah, the movie is over 90 minutes, and it feels like forever.
It feels so long
because it's not well paced and it's very bad.
Yeah, when we were doing, we did another watch along on the Discord. If you haven't joined the preview Discord, definitely give that a join up. It's the best community on the internet. Lots of fun people, and every week, for Fix It, we do a watch along of whatever movie we're covering, and actually more people showed up to this, considering this is streaming like no places.
Oh, you had to rent it from Amazon, right?
Yeah, I rented it from Amazon. Other people, took to the high seas.
Yarr!
They kept talking about pirates, and for legal reasons, I don't understand why.
I don't know, but we have a lot of very nautical peaches in the Discord.
But yeah, so a lot of people showed up. But like the whole time I was just like, I did a time check by like the time where they show up to the elf domain, the elves.
Oh, that's
and
right.
they're healing
yeah.
him. I was like, how long has it been? It's only been like 55 minutes. No way, man. No way. It felt like I've been watching this movie forever.
Yeah.
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 It's oh boy.
Yeah, before we get too far into the actual week, because I want to get in the weeds about decisions. I do.
I want to deep
I want to.
I want to get up in there and
Because
get
there's
messy.
this thing. I have so many questions about the decisions that people are making. Brian, I need as much information as you can humanly find about this movie.
Yeah. I'm actually fascinated to know all these beautiful bean fun fact footage.
Thank you, gentlemen. Producer Brian here, because today we are fixing 2000's Dungeons & Dragons. Directed by Courtney Solomon and starring Jeremy Irons, Justin Whalen, Marlon Wayans, and Thora Birch, this movie made $33.8 million on a $45 million budget. So, some fun facts about this movie. The director, Courtney Solomon, was a huge D&D fan, and in 1990, he went to TSR, the original publisher of Dungeons & Dragons, and tried to convince them to let him make a movie. They did not want to do that, but he eventually convinced them, and he raised all the money himself. He even lost a girlfriend in the process because he was so focused on raising that money. He got Joel Silver to produce, and they were all ready to start to go, and then they sold it to Wizards of the Coast. Wizards of the Coast did not want to make this movie. They wanted a direct-to-video or maybe a TV show. They just thought it was going to be too expensive. And then they agreed finally to do it because A, they were allowed to film in Prague, which they really wanted to do, and B, the cost of special effects had gone down substantially. So they were all in on that movie, which is what we got here. The screenplay was originally started in 1991 and completed in 1997, and if you care at all, this movie has a 10% on Rotten Tomatoes. Anyway, back to you, gentlemen.
Wow. Brian went to the depths of a dungeon and
he
clearly
sure
fought a mini boss.
I've been trying to get Brian to play D&D for the longest
Brian
time.
would be great at D&D.
I think he would be good at D&D. He just doesn't really have any interest in it.
What? Brian, why don't you want to play D&D?
That's a great question, Adam, and I really don't have a good answer for it. I feel like I missed the boat because I didn't play it growing up, and I didn't get into it during lockdown. On top of that, I'm not 100% sure how it works, how it's played, so that's ignorance on my part. But also at this point in time, I'm just so busy with a ton of stuff, and I don't know if I would prioritize learning it and putting it into my schedule over other things. But that's totally a me thing, and I still could be convinced 100%. Anyway, back to you, gentlemen.
Okay, I guess I can kind of see that. But maybe
I don't,
let's make
but
some
that's-
time. Let's make some
Yeah,
time.
let's make some time.
That'd be good.
That'd be good.
Okay, Jay. This movie full of very awkward and weird decisions, and also people who truly did not care about the movie they were making.
No.
And this is not now, and I'm not blaming anyone on screen.
No.
All the actors,
Look, a job's a job.
absolutely, and they were doing their best. Jeremy Irons gnawed through every piece of furniture that was on the set.
Any piece of scenery was ground up and just snorted by that man. just getting in there. He absolutely demolished that. It's
Because the movie starts on him.
oh yeah.
Well, I mean, it starts on a VO
Yeah.
over clouds.
They're like, this can't be a tax write-off. We have Jeremy Irons here. That's how I feel. But sometimes when you're like, why is Dame Judi Dench here? Why is she here? And they're like, oh, well, this is just legitimized as a movie that we're gonna cash in as a loss.
No, this is all business. This is the business. Mm-hmm. From the fact that the movie starts with a minute-long VO over clouds, with just nothing visual. It's literally
Clouds and smoke.
It's
Yeah.
literally clouds and smoke
Yeah.
of someone talking about something, and then you see Jeremy Irons.
And it cuts into a CGI city with Jeremy Irons with a CGI dragon. This movie was shot with, I think, a fundamental misunderstanding of how much CGI cost. I feel like they shot this movie and being like, cool, you're going to be here. We're going to put the dragon here and it's going to look awesome. And like, cool. Like, that's all we need. Like, as long as the dragon looks cool, like, this scene's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And then they like kind of blew through their budget a little bit and they finally got to post and they were like doing all the CGI and they went, wait, how much does it cost to get a good looking dragon like in Dragonheart? Oh no!
And we need how many dragons at the climax of this movie?
Like, I feel like they got to the CGI people and were like looking through their wallet and went, oh, we spent too much on craft services. I think
Well, I think the fact that this movie starts in a dungeon with a dragon
yes
is a fundamental misunderstanding of what Dungeons and Dragons is.
Yeah, I thought I at least found it. I think I kind of found it kind of charming. If this movie was self-aware at all, there would be someone in the scene being like, "Oh, how'd you get that dragon in the dungeon? Weird." You know what I mean? There would be a comment on it.
I guess.
But you're correct. Them just like not even acknowledging how ridiculous that was, like
Because
like,
it was bad.
Because that's the screenwriter being like, "Well, it's Dungeons and Dragons, so we must have
Scene 1
a dragon
in a dungeon.
in a dungeon."
Wow, that's brilliant. How else do you start this movie?
I did it. I'll pause for Jeremy Irons to snoot up the rest of the set and just inhale all of it. Yum, yum, yum. Eat them up. Drink it up with milk. Yum, yum.
And then after that, we meet our two leads, who are people who don't have a lot of stuff in their life.
Who don't have any characteristics other than that they are charming thieves, I guess.
Who want stuff. Here's the thing. I don't even know what class they are, Jay.
Yeah.
Which is, again, another fundamental misunderstanding of what D&D is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And even I was watching
Well,
the whole
they're
movie.
supposed to be thieves, so I guess we're to assume that they are rogues.
I don't know.
But also, you have to remember this movie came out when third edition was out. So, like, rogue usually multi-classed into fighter, which makes sense for our lead guy, who I can't even remember his name. He looks like Sean Hunter, kinda.
I don't remember his name at all.
And we
I
have
don't
a
remember
Wayans.
anyone's name, to be honest.
Yeah, no, this other than Jeremy Irons and what's her name from American Beauty? She was the Empress.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that was
The Empress was somebody?
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Because in my notes, I swear I have. Was she ADR'd? Because I feel like the way she was acting and the words coming out of her mouth were not in the same room. It was weird. The scenes she's in are weird.
I love it how if you Google Dungeons and Dragons movie, it only comes like the old one is not even acknowledged.
The internet buried it. Threw it in a dungeon. Threw away the key.
Yeah, man.
Well, whoever that woman is.
Thora Birch. It's Thora Birch is the Empress.
That's Thora Birch?
That was Thora Birch.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I did not. I just thought she was a random actress
Yeah.
who got ADR'd because they didn't pick her up her voice very well on day of.
Yeah, man.
Yikes.
On bikes. But yeah, can I be honest with you?
Sure.
This movie, we watched a lot of bad movies so far this year for this show.
We have.
You know, in this first 50 episodes arc, this emerging of this runaway success podcast.
Yeah.
We've watched a lot of bad movies.
We have.
I think this may be the one that has truly insulted me more than any of them.
I will agree with you. And here are a couple of examples. Before I get to there were
Give us the examples.
there were a couple of really I will give this movie small credit. There were a couple of really cool things in this movie. But before I get to that point, there are a couple of really bad things in this movie. One, why does the dwarf join the party?
They find him in a garbage dump, and he just is along
And
for
the
the
next
ride.
scene, he's along for the ride.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense.
They didn't address it at all. Then 15 or so minutes later, once they get out of the city and they're, I guess, on the adventure, he spikes the camera, breaks the fourth wall for a terrible joke, and then it never happens again.
Yeah.
Just That is I couldn't. I almost stopped watching. I am. That is not how you do any of this. It's because it was a bad joke.
Yeah.
And it was totally like, what are we doing? That's not. None of this movie is any. It's just
for me. It comes down to it's more grand ideas in this movie that I find the most insulting. This is the first movie, like bad movie we've watched for this show, that actually, as I was watching it, this movie felt cheap. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, this movie, like, this doesn't, there was not a lot of care in this movie, and clearly not a budget to, like, this felt like a lot of artistic choices being made of, like, who cares? Literally.
yeah.
Like, just from the set dressing, a lot of this stuff, like, looked like an aging amusement park type of set.
Yeah.
A lot of the set dressing, it just looked like the character design. Some of the stuff was interesting. Like the guy with the third eye, interesting.
Yeah.
What was he supposed to be? It was making a D&D. There is literature. There is you want to know what kind of species live here and what they look like? You have a book, homie.
There's thousands of pages
There is,
available to you.
bro. Like there is a whole. It is all explained to you.
They
Like,
had a beholder floating in this.
they had a fundamental misunderstanding of what orcs look like. It was just like there was no care in this movie. It looked, all of it looked cheap. And for what frustrates me the most about this movie is that you are dealing with Dungeons and Dragons in the year 2000. You are dealing with a brand that, like, when they're moving into 3rd edition, a lot of people did not like 3rd edition. That's why 3.5 came out. That's why Pathfinder exists.
Oh.
Not a lot of people like 3rd edition Dungeons and Dragons.
I didn't know that.
You're dealing with a company that is trying to a company and a product that is, and that's where the OGL gets so upsetting. This is a thing that the fans breathe the full life into.
Yes.
The player base is where this thing exists. And this movie does not make me want to play this game.
No.
I'm not saying that movies that are attached to an IP need to be just one big commercial for the product.
Sure.
But it would go a long way to showing me a fun, fleshed out world.
Yes.
To get me to think that Dungeons and Dragons is cool. You're also in 2000. You're also dealing with still dealing with the satanic panic around the game from the 80s. You're still dealing with people thinking it's the nerdiest game of all time. Mm-hmm. Nothing about this movie solves any of the actual issues going on with the game at the time.
Nope.
And it's really, really frustrating to me that I was like, as someone who like played D&D back in high school, it was like, this doesn't justify, like, as someone who had to defend that it's actually cool, this movie didn't help at all.
No.
Because people were like, yeah, that movie was bad. I'm like, but I swear this is cool.
But you and I could make something way cooler if you come over and play with me, Trent.
Yeah.
I got dice. It'll be cool.
Yeah.
We get throw magic around and have big swords.
Yeah.
And kill stuff.
Uh-huh.
Here are the good things that happened in this movie. There were a couple of things that are actually very good in this movie.
Yeah.
One, when the mage uses the rope spell on the guys, and then they are tethered to her, and that's how they get pulled through that portal. I thought that was a good use of the power.
Sure.
Because that's like, getting the party together. Oh, she traps them. Oh, now they're... Granted, it was done a little bit for slap... So it was done for slap... It was like slapstick comedy. But it was a clever use of the power to keep, getting the main characters together. I thought that was neat. Also, later on, when Damon Wayans is searching that room, and it turns out that carpet is quicksand, there's an overhead shot just before it goes.
It did. I mean, that was pretty good.
Like the carp. That was very good.
But the minute he stepped in, it was like, oh, that's oatmeal.
Yes.
That's not quicksand. That's oatmeal.
But
that's oatmeal.
Somebody painted that oatmeal.
That guy jumped into a lot of oatmeal.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop you there for 1 second. Adam, you slipped and said Damon Wayans. It's Marlon Wayans, his brother. Anyway, back to you, gentlemen.
But that part was really good. other than that,
Yeah.
that's it.
And a lot of blue lipstick.
Yeah, why?
Light blue lipstick.
Yeah.
Just because that's, I guess, what they would do.
Yeah.
Because, and what comes down to this movie every time, you're gonna wear a light blue metallic lipstick the entire time as the bad guy. Why? Who cares? It's cool. I guess. Maybe it's at least interesting. We need something for them to talk about because it sure as heck is not going to be the plot.
Another thing.
And another
thing.
Name more things.
Our elf, the woman who was, the princess protector, her armor,
Yeah.
color scheme.
Yeah, it was bad.
I couldn't. But it's like she's changing armor, right? She's got to change at some point. No, they leave her in.
She looked like she was wearing something Madonna would wear on tour, but then she was also wearing like cargo pants. It was terrible.
It was terrible.
Terrible.
Like the color scheme was bad. Like she was very pretty, but like she just like I can't look at you. The color scheme is just this whole thing is unflattering to you, and I have to look away. I'm angry for you.
Yeah,
I can't believe
I'm
the day.
embarrassed for you.
Yes, when you showed up on set, I was like, "What's my outfit?" And you looked at the thing like, "I have to. Why would I get? This doesn't match.
It doesn't match at all.
Why am I? Okay."
Yeah, my thought like the whole time I was like, man, I feel like maybe the wardrobe people forgot that she was a character, and she showed up on set and she's like, I'm the elf, and they were like, oh no, let's just
Here's
just
a body
slap something
here's
together,
a body
I
stocking
guess.
and stuff, and
Party, awesome.
Besides the giant CGI dragon battle at the end of this movie, which was, I don't know why they didn't write for their budget. Because clearly this movie
That's what I'm saying. I think they just didn't. I think they had a fundamental misunderstanding of how much CGI cost. Because they relied so heavily on it, and because they were like, oh, we'll just fix all of this in post. It's not that. It's fine, man. It's the year 2000. It's the future, baby. It's computers. And then they were like, oh man, like Toy Story exists. Come on, why wouldn't we? And it's like, no. This actually, you relied entirely too much on this. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
It's a very bad climactic battle, which the green screen behind them of just the sky itself, like people are disappearing. The feathering on them. As someone who does green screen, the majority of the week, like I was losing my because it's just like it's just the whole. But the biggest complaint about the ending, what? In the seven hells happened at the end of this movie.
Slug Names disappears from his gravestone, and then the stone teleports them away. To which we have found out through research and through prepping for this show and shows going forward, there is a trilogy of this story.
Oh yeah, but they're not in the next movie.
What?
I looked. So what happens in the spoiler alert for what happens in Dungeons and Dragons? Marlon Wayne's character dies somewhere around halfway through in a tonal shift you do not see coming because this movie is slapsticky.
And they throw him off a wall in a way that feels slapsticky. Like if you played different music over it, it could be funny.
Like I was waiting for him to pop back up.
Me too.
Cause like the tone, like the way they've been interacting with each other is like a couple of kids from the 90s stealing stuff and doing high fives and stuff. And all of a sudden, then he gets freaking murdered and tossed off of a rampart. And then they have a shot of his broken, bleeding body on the ground.
It's like, oh no, what? Why?
Is he really dead? Is he really dead? Oh my God.
This isn't that serious. Why would you?
And then because the tone shifts immediately.
No one's actually killing people.
But he's dead.
Yeah, dude.
He's super dead.
Man.
So at the end of the movie, after the good guys win, after a crazy CG battle that's really, really freaking bad, they go visit his grave, and then, I guess, and there's a little stone with his name scrawled on it, and there's that red, I guess the red gem from
and his name's Slug,
I think it was Snails.
Snails,
Was he an elf? I think he was an elf. Because they had a hat like
Everyone in the literally
just covered the top
everyone-
of his ears.
Everyone in the watch along was like, I remember him being an elf and it being a thing, right? And everyone's like, yeah. Why is that not here? So there's got to be some Mandela effect going on there with the D&D movie.
Maybe. So they had like a red stone from the MacGuffin. Our main character places it on, I guess, his gravestone, and then the 4 main characters who are still alive turn to light and just away, and then the movie's over. I don't know if that was even like a setup for the second movie, because they're not in the second movie.
Doesn't even.
It's a trilogy
know.
in that there are 3 movies.
I know what they were going for there.
I don't know.
So you're telling me there's a trilogy, but they're not. It's not even the same character.
Well, so I looked ahead a little bit just to see like what the plot was for the next one.
Yeah.
Because I was so like, wait, are these characters in the next one? They're not. The city is. I think the location's the same.
Okay.
But the next movie is called like the Dragon God or something to that effect. So like it may be still in the same continuity, but they are different characters. It's like actual like adults who look more badass doing stuff.
Huh.
But because there's like kids in this movie or like young adults going on an adventure and then one of them freaking gets murdered. It's just this movie. I was angered by this. Why would you? This felt disrespectful.
Yeah, 1,000%.
20 years later, it's felt disrespectful.
Yeah,
and it makes sense why D&D took another 17 years before it finally kicked in the door of pop culture and says, "I'm here now."
Yeah,
I would like to rage.
That's what I mean. Like this movie, just like really just. The D&D needed all the help it could get, and this movie like spit in its face. And I'm not trying to be too negative. Like I understand, like we fully understand that the conceit of this show is inherently negative, and we try to make it as laughy and as joke 'em ups as possible. But wow, this movie like actually pissed me off. I was so mad.
Yeah. Because they were fantasy movies, or just, old-timey medieval movies going on at that time that were huge successes.
The best example during the watch-along was someone was like, this movie came out within, like, 2 years of Dragonheart, and, like, the dragon in that movie looked incredible.
Oh, that's right, it did.
Whereas, like, this movie, like, it's not even close.
And Dragonheart had 2 sequels that were pretty much straight to DVD.
And they're not bad, actually.
And they're not bad.
I've seen them. They're pretty good.
And the CG in those straight to DVD releases were better than this movie.
Dude, I loved Dragon. I had all the toys. I loved that movie.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Dragonheart was a big deal for me as a kid. I think that's part of the reason why I got into Dungeons and Dragons was like Dragonheart.
Cool.
Because I came out before this. I can't even. This movie looked like it was made in 1994.
Yes, it did.
Oof, I think we got to get into
Yes.
because like I can't even.
Yes.
I'm starting to. Can you feel me?
Yes,
like
I
starting
can.
to get madder.
Yes, I can.
Because I was like, ha, this movie sucks. And I was like, no. Yeah, I'd like to rage.
You got to declare it, Jay.
You got to declare it.
You got to declare it.
With my big water bottle. That would be my barbarian weapon. My huge Stanley water bottle. Yeah,
Clang, clang. just braining fools.
Okay.
Would you like me to fix it, Jay?
Adam, Dungeons and Dragons, fix it.
All right. I am going to fix the Dungeons and Dragons from 2000 movie. And basically, they're at the core of this movie.
Yeah. What's your thesis statement?
On paper, there is a good story here.
Sure.
On paper,
I wouldn't disagree.
If that story was told at the table with people who carried and like going on this adventure,
Yeah.
that's a good weekend one shot.
Like the thieves guild, and like him having to go through like the trials to get like the thing.
Yeah.
That's a D&D thing.
Yeah.
Like that's there are certain aspects that are not completely off base.
No. I mean, they did a little bit of research. It showed that they did a little bit of research, but didn't understand the information they were getting.
That's a good way of putting it.
They got the facts. They just didn't understand the context of those facts.
Yeah.
So
It's the difference between an intelligence check and a wisdom check.
exactly. Good job, bud. So my thesis statement is I'm going to take at the core of this movie the good story that was actually in there and present it in a basically a Dungeons and Dragons format of
Sure.
this is how you would do it at the table.
Yeah.
Also, just for clarity's sake, just to let everybody know, because of what's going on in with D&D right now, I'm using Pathfinder 2.0 as the basis for this fix.
Okay.
So Wizards of the Coast or Hasbro cannot come back in time and be like, hey,
All right.
I'm stealing this idea because it's ours now. So this is a Pathfinder fix
Gotcha.
for a Dungeons & Dragons movie.
Cool.
So just as a heads up. So I've just changed a couple of the things. Just, Jay, I'm covering our asses, okay?
Yeah.
I don't want Hasbro coming after us. They
Yeah.
got that Barbie money. So, like,
Totally.
and they got a Barbie movie coming out at some point later this year. And it's probably... Oh, that's Mattel. Haha, they don't have Barbie. They have nothing, actually. Hasbro got G.I. Joe? Transformers,
Yeah.
I think.
And don't they technically own Power Rangers?
They do. Oh.
Oh.
Anyways, my fix. Okay, so this... this is from a party perspective at the table.
Yeah.
We're starting this movie in a bar.
Okay.
Where our cleric character, or the okay, so I'm also assigning roles for all the characters.
Now, a bar or a tavern?
Tavern.
Tavern.
The elf woman who was sent by the princess to figure stuff out,
Yeah.
she's a cleric.
Okay.
Okay, just as a heads up. So she's a cleric character.
Great.
Because I don't know anyone's names, I'm going to refer to them as their classes.
Totally fine.
Okay, so she's a cleric. She's in the tavern, and she spies our three male characters. There is our swashbuckler, who is the white kid with the hair who's parted down the middle, whose name I don't remember, but he's a swashbuckler now.
Gotcha.
Damon Wayans is a rogue,
Yeah.
and we have our dwarf character who's already there, a part of the team, because it makes more sense for him to be there at the beginning than just randomly show up in 10 minutes later.
We all, look, dwarves are fun. If
They-
you do,
yes.
it's like they can be the life of the party.
Absolutely.
I play dwarves.
I know that you do.
I love dwarves.
And our dwarf is a champion,
Oh, okay.
which is a paladin.
Gotcha.
But this is a Pathfinder, so it's champion. So she sees them interacting with people in this tavern and can tell by their choices that they're good people. I mean, they're rapscallions, but like you can tell they're actually pretty good. They have some morals. So she needs a team. She goes offer them like, hey, I have a secret mission on behalf of the princess, and I need your help. Well, how much coin do you get? A lot of coin, trust me, but I need your help. They're in. So their first step is go to the mage tower to meet up with a wizard to get a map to go do a thing. They meet this young mage woman who's there because the girl in the movie is a wizard who doesn't use magic at all.
Yeah.
She uses it at the beginning, goes the whole movie, and then uses it at the end, I think twice. She used no magic the whole movie.
And also, every time she used magic, it was just like nondescript lightning. It was like there was no game accurate like vocabulary of magic.
Nope.
There was no game accurate any of it.
It was just like she just didn't use magic, and then she could summon portals, I guess. I don't know.
Sure.
But she is a mage in this. And
Yes.
she's like, oh, we have to go talk to my master. Great. They go upstairs to meet with the master. And oh no, he's being attacked by the guys who got, like the guy with the blue lipstick and some of his henchmen. Much like the actual part of the movie.
Yeah.
This is Encounter 1, Jay.
Sure.
So we have now our newly formed party of 5 characters versus we have 8 henchmen guards and the captain of the guard for Wizard Irons. Because I don't remember the bad guy's name, so I'm naming him Wizard Irons after Jeremy Irons.
Yeah.
It's just easier. And much like all first encounters in a one-shot, this is just the chance for your characters to just run roughshod over them and flex. Do all the cool moves, figure out how the party works. So, like, these guys, like, basically beat the crap out of these henchmen.
Yeah.
But the captain of the guard gets away with half the map.
Okay.
So, now they're like, oh, no, we got to go figure out what's on this map. This bad guy clearly wants something. So, they leave the city to go
Yeah.
on the quest. The cleric calls the princess and like, oh, no, this is what happened. Like, oh, the princess is like, well, the bad Wizard Irons is, trying to stop me from, attaining the throne because I have progressive ideas and I want to, equality and freedom for everybody. And clearly he's trying to spark a civil war so he and the other mages can retain power. And,
Yeah.
So, like, you got to get that MacGuffin, which is the same base, so they can control the dragon to have power over.
Sure.
Yeah, it's just one rod that controls the dragon this time. It's just not 2, because that was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just 1. So, are outside the city. The party goes towards, starting to head towards the rogue. Damon Wayans, the rogue, knows a contact. Is like, oh, I know someone who might be helping us to decipher the map.
Yeah.
But he's in this town. Great. So they're walking around. They camp, and at camp we have a nice RP time of like, okay, everyone share your backstories, and some people share more than others. But it turns out, of course, everyone's got a really sad backstory, and my parents are dead, and I'm an orphan. I don't know who my parents are, and it's like, oh my god, I'm been hunted by blah 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 blah. Except for the mage. The mage has been living a life of, for the most part, luxury. She doesn't really know what's outside the castle walls, but because she's a mage, she's been learning stuff. But everyone else is like, oh, woe is me. It's been so crazy. And in future movies, we maybe touch on these backstories because that's how D&D works. So after they share stories and some people bed down, they get attacked by hobgoblins. Do they have hobgoblins? Hobgoblins! Oh, no!
Oh, yeah.
It's the second encounter. So in this encounter, we have 3 hobgoblin soldiers, 2 archers, and 1 hobgoblin general.
You're being so specific.
It's a CR3 rating of it's not too bad.
Oh boy, all right.
I just pulled it out of my butt. I don't know.
I was like, are you really doing CRs for
No,
all these
I knew that was a thing. No, I knew that was a thing. I knew that was a thing. I don't know. But I did have the path rating. I was like, what are the names? Okay, cool. All right.
CR for those at home is challenge rating.
Oh, that's it. Challenge rating. Yeah. Okay. So this fight's obviously got to be a little bit harder than the first one. So the cleric actually has to do a little healing here. But for the most part, it's pretty easy. The rogue's doing rogue stuff. The swashbuckler, is doing awesome things. And the mage, actually casts magic and does some cool stuff.
Yeah.
For the most part, they're still kind of figuring out how team dynamics work. And it's a little difficult. And the general's a little tough. But ultimately, they get him. And then when they loot the bodies, because that's the other fun part about Dungeons & Dragons, is looting the dead bodies, they find out that the general had a little slip of paper on it that said, like, oh yeah, you can find the guys, that the other half of the map, bring it to me. They are here. And realize, hey, the captain of the guard of Wizard Irons can somehow either knows where we're going or can track us. We gotta go. So they keep going to town. And it's just, a normal town with normal D&D races that aren't weird stereotypes of whatever these races are, because to be honest, that scene felt insulting of do you even know what these people are? This is I don't feel like you don't, and I feel like you're still making fun of these races even though these are made up races.
Well, that's been a large conversation in the TTRPG space about racism in a role-playing space is still kind of racism, and the amount of mapping that you can do to normal, it's kind of a bummer. And so it's trying to create a safe space in TTRPG is it felt very insulting in the movie. I was like, oh, they just don't, them not caring is insulting, but this is going even farther. This feels like ignorance.
Yeah. It felt that whole scene in the town and the thieves guild felt weird. But they go to town, they know where the contact is. It is a thieves guild, and the rogue knows who the guy is. But this time, so it's a third encounter, but it's not a battle encounter. Now everyone's got to use persuasion checks and try the charisma to try to talk to people, because that's another way how the D&D works. RPing with NPCs to try to get a goal, not just fighting all the time.
Yeah.
So,
as someone who's been playing a rogue for a long time, rogues are okay in battle, but rogues succeed in all the other stuff. All the outside of battle stuff, I'm awesome at.
Yeah.
Let me win those encounters. Because those are still encounters.
Yes.
It's a game.
It's a game.
Yeah.
So they go to the thing. People are with limited amounts of success for clearly the mage isn't very good at this, and our cleric's okay but not great. Even though she's trying to talk to some elves, our rogue is good, but also what helps is the fact that our champion decides to because he likes to fight. Decides to go into the fighting pit and just fight this one guy one-on-one. And it's a pretty good fight. And they're like, you guys are great. Okay, fine. Here's the information. I'll help you decipher the map. And this time, they actually just talk about what's on the map instead of getting sucked in to said map and off-screen discovering where to go. Because that was insane.
Yeah.
They get in the movie, the two main characters basically get sucked into the map, and you see them walking around to the thing and actually starting to talk to somebody, but the camera does not follow them into the map to get this information. They just stay at this bar and talk and as the dwarf eats chicken sloppily and people are angry. That was, I felt, I was watching it and I was like, Jay's not going to like this scene. I feel like they're just insulting dwarves right now.
Well, it was more that I was insulted by the acting choice, if I'm being totally honest with you, because I was like, his choice is just to eat chicken as messy as possible, even though it's not realistic. We stop going back to me about getting upset about this movie, because the more I talk about this movie, the angrier I get.
Rage is building.
I was like, this isn't how people eat chicken.
It's not.
I don't care if you're a dwarf. Dwarves are a noble race. They would never eat chicken like that. Disrespected dwarves. How dare you?
You're right. So they win the encounter overall. The leader of the guild is like, great. Yeah, this is actually, you know what, where you're going and what the MacGuffin you're looking for is actually in a dragon's lair. And the dragon's lair is, a day and a half that way.
Gotcha.
And so they're like, we got to go because we know we're either getting tracked or the bad guys are probably going to figure out the same information we are. We got to get there before they do.
Yeah.
So on the way there, this is when we get the lore dump of like, hey, there was this giant war hundreds of years ago between like humanity and the races versus the dragons. And one of the ways we kind of kept the peace is because the mages crafted this item that could make him control the dragon, and we gave it to the dragons as a sign of like, we don't want to fight anymore, let there be peace. So like the dragons have it, so we need to get it to maintain the peace between humanity, at large with all the different races, and the dragons. So we got to get there. So a day and a half later they get there, and it's kind of, this is now like the standard dungeon for a one-shot campaign.
Yeah.
They go in there. There are some traps that like we saw in the movie of like when he's running through the race course or whatever.
Sure.
We can get some of those. We disable a couple things. We pick a couple locks. We solve a quick puzzle. Nothing super crazy. It doesn't take a whole lot of time, but there's just the elements that would be in a game.
Yeah.
And then of course we come across a gelatinous cube, and they fight some skeleton. Because you got to fight some skeletons.
Yeah.
And a gelatinous cube is like, this is what? Wait, no, what? This is insane. Yeah, a gelatinous cube. You think it's silly. That thing will dissolve you very quickly if you take this not seriously. So you need to focus up, kill this thing. So it's a fun little encounter before they go actually talk to the dragon. And so when they get to the dragon, their intent is to be like, hey, dragon,
hello.
Hi. There is
It's me. Hi. I'm the dragon, it's me.
There are people here with ill intent, but when they show up, they see that they got beat by the captain of the guard.
Okay.
And he's like, those are the people I was telling you about. They're trying to come steal your relic.
Yes, sir.
Oh, no. So the party's like, wait, no, it's not us. It's So kind of like a little bit like the fight from Vox Machina when at the first half, like they are outmatched by this dragon, doing layer actions and like doing some cool stuff. While the guy's like, I'm just gonna go over here and take this treasure. Ha 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 ha! I got my thing and bye. Portal's out, and so the guy's like, oh no. The dragon's still like, roar, and I don't know what kind of color it is, but whatever. It's just throwing lightning and stuff, and everyone's hiding, and like they try to attack it, but like it's ineffective. It's a dragon. They're like level 5.
Yeah.
They're not good. This is the first. Jay, it's the first movie. It's the first one-shot adventure.
Yeah.
They're level 5.
Yes.
Okay. They will take time to level up.
Yeah. 5. You get enough. For
You
work
can
with
do
with
some
5,
stuff with 5. Oh,
you know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
But they're level 5. They can't do it. They can't take a dragon.
No.
So they're like,
because sometimes when you're playing TTRPGs, the strategy is to run.
yes.
It's not. You're not supposed to find everything.
Not supposed to find everything.
You're not supposed to find everything.
And that's a good lesson for the
People learn
players.
that pretty quick.
Yeah.
That comes into my fix pretty as well. Sometimes you're not supposed. You are way outclassed.
So while people are like hiding and like trying to, how do we get out of here? Our cleric gets a call from, I guess, our sending stone from Princess, like, oh no, the war, the battle in the city has started, and he's like, yeah, the captain of the guard got the MacGuffin. We're trying our best, but like we're pinned down by a dragon. Like, oh no, and then you can hear like the guards banging on the door, and you can hear the princess getting kidnapped.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh no, everything's going down in the city, guys. We gotta get out of here. We gotta get back. And so finally, the swashbuckler rolls high on a persuasion check and is like, dragon, we are not here. Like puts down, is like, we are not here. The guy just stole your thing.
Yeah.
We were coming here to try to warn you about him. There is a bad guy with ill intent in the city of Ism, I guess whatever the city was called, that is going to use you and your kin in a power play to take over. We were trying to stop him. We need to get back to the city.
Yeah.
So they actually parlay with the dragon. The dragon's like, the piece has been kept for 200 years, blah, 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 blah. Okay, you know what? You seem to have noble hearts. Let's see if we can work together to solve this. So, but clearly you guys, I mean, I was going to kill you. I could have killed you guys immediately. I was kind of having fun with you a little bit. So there's a little character, the dragon,
yeah, because dragons are they're not just mindless killing machines.
They're actual characters.
Yes.
I was like,
They can talk.
I was going to kill you in about 90 seconds, but you guys seem pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Clearly, I don't think if you couldn't handle me, there's no way you're handling this guy who's getting a scepter who can apparently use it to control my mind. So
yeah,
you guys should probably take some stuff from this horde, and I'm sure there's plenty of stuff here that I've been keeping for hundreds of years that can help you out. So they get to loot the dragon's horde for some items to help themselves, and they also level up, and they'll do a little training up montage like we would like to do of this. We see them actually use some of the abilities that they would use that they haven't used yet. Oh, I just figured this out. Oh, cool, I can do this thing now. Neat. And of course, they get rings and the cool sword. They get items to help them in the next fight. So now everyone's geared up and ready to go, and now it makes sense as oh, the dragon gave us this stuff, not I now have a magic sword out of nowhere that we don't know the specs or what it does, but now we will because the dragon will be oh yeah, that thing does this, that thing does this, and the rogue's oh, I can go disappear, this is great. We know what the loot they have because they looted stuff, because that's what makes D&D fun. You get to loot and gear up your characters. So now they looted. They got cool stuff. We know the stats. So the dragon's the fastest way back there. Does anyone know portal? No? Okay, everybody hop on, because we gotta go.
Whee!
They fly on the dragon back to the city. So it's never ending story.
Absolutely.
This is fun. The dwarfs having a heart. yes. And as they get to the city, we can see fires and burning and stuff like that. It's oh no, the battle's going on. The dragon tries to breathe a dragon's breath. I don't know what type of.
What color dragon is it?
I don't know, blue. Let's go blue.
Lightning.
Let's go blue. Yeah, it's lightning. But it can't break through the mage's shield or whatever. He's okay, well, I can't break through the thing, and time isn't of the essence. Drops the party down the butt. They got to break into the tower, work their way up, stop the mage. Great. This is the final run of the final mission of the movie. So breaking in is not too hard because the rogue's got he rolls high, breaks in. They work their way up. They kill some henchmen, but then eventually they run into the captain of the guard. I was oh no. Well, the mage is doing the summonings or whatever the ritual right now to use the MacGuffin. We gotta split the party, and they're are you kidding? You don't split the party. This is insane. We can't take this guy alone. It's well, we have to interrupt we have to interrupt him. We have to. If we don't interrupt him right now, he'll be able to complete it.
Yeah.
So some of us have to go up there.
Ticking clock. Yep.
We have to get up there. Okay. So who's gonna go? Who's gonna stay?
Well, I have a bag full of rope and ball bearings. 50 to be exact.
50 ball bearings. I throw a ball bearing.
Whee!
So they decide. Okay, it's gonna be the swashbuckler, the rogue, and the mage stay to take on the captain of the guard.
Yeah.
While the cleric and the champion go up to disrupt the wizard. The goal is to not fight. The goal is to disrupt.
Yes.
So we'll handle him as fast as we can, and hopefully none of us die. You just need to stop him from doing the thing for as long as possible.
Yeah.
So now we're going to do a little bit of meanwhile back at the ranch between the two fights.
Gotcha.
And so thankfully, because...
you are, however, making a huge mistake.
I split the party.
You split the party.
Split the party. Well, thank God this is the first movie and it's the one shot, so this works out.
But I did say steak.
You did say steak, and I missed it. No, I missed it. So eventually, the swashbuckler and the rogue and the mage whittle down the captain of the guard, even though he's got a big pool of HP and got a high AC.
Yeah.
But eventually, we see the swashbuckler and the rogue really start to work together because the swashbuckler's taking his attention. And the rogue's able to get behind him in advantage and backstab him.
In Pathfinder, is swashbuckler and rogue, they're not the same thing?
It didn't seem like there was two different classes.
Gotcha.
So it's oh great, the rogue is really powerful, awesome, well done, because he's flourishing all sorts of cool stuff.
Baby.
It's all about the flanks. If you are a rogue, you get in a flank position or attack from the shadows. He's very good at this.
Yeah.
So they win. Great. We got to get upstairs because the champion and the cleric are hurt. They've done a good job of stopping him from completing the thing, but they're not in the best shape.
Gotcha.
And it looks like, oh no, the wizard's about to kill them until, hey, our team shows up and now the party's ready. And the cleric's like, oh, thank God, mass healing word, haha. We got a fifth level from an item from the Dragon's Horde. Thank God, we're all back to normal. And then the music starts playing.
my healing staff.
Yeah, the music starts playing, and now it's 5-on-1, and it's freaking awesome. Granted, Wizard is very powerful.
Yeah.
So, like, he is able to throw a lot of pain towards our characters, but now they're in there, like, for 6th level, they're, they know what they're doing now. So the rogue is getting, shooting from advantage in cover. The swashbuckler's doing stuff. The mage is getting in some shots. The cleric's keeping people up. The champion is absorbing damage. Like, they're working as a team, and you see the teamwork of the champion taking blows so the swashbuckler can get strikes, so the rogue can get behind, so the mage can do, like, you see how the game works through the battle.
Yeah.
And eventually, through a team up of like the mage blinding the wizard, allowing the swashbuckler to get in front of him, the rogue gets behind him and just uses like a couple of daggers to So the wizard, bleeding out, makes a crawl for the MacGuffin. The swashbuckler, who's apparently a main character, also goes for the MacGuffin. They both grab it at the same time. And the wizard's like trying to use it, but he can't because the swashbuckler's like, what, how would you can't use this? It's like, actually, you'd be surprised. I think you can. Now! And the dragon, because the magic, with the wizard being mortally wounded, his magic starts to fail. So the dragon's able to crash through the stained glass. The swashbuckler rolls out of the way. Blue dragon lightning breaths. The wizard smashes him. And the day is saved!
Huzzah!
Huzzah! Everyone wins, and they almost level up. They leveled up in the lair, so it was good, but they're not quite level 7 yet. So they free the princess. The city's like, huzzah! Yay, our heroes!
That's not half bad.
Let us extend a hand of friendship towards the dragons, and maybe we don't have to be as quiet. Maybe we can be more cooperative with each other now.
Core operative. We are the core operators.
So, like, hopefully we can, open up more lines of communications, and you guys can be more active, and maybe we can build a better society together instead of apart.
Heck yeah, man! It's like Dragonlance, yeah.
There we go. End of the movie. And there's no after a credit scene. Like, there's these characters
this
still
is
around.
Just right across the plate.
It's the first.
Just boom.
It's the first weekend you guys are playing. Maybe this is a couple sessions. Things will build off of this, but you don't need everyone turns into a ball of light and disappears. Like, no. More stories. Everyone's backstory, nothing got touched.
No.
Everyone's got a full of like dead parents and mysteries and stuff to go through. That's the sequels.
We got a whole trilogy that we can fill with backstory here.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Just straight down the plate. This is just
right across
the plate. This is the fun that D&D is, or tabletop role playing games. This is what it can be. You can do this at home.
Yeah, mine is so decidedly not right across the plate.
Okay. You've been saying that, and I was like, and you said but you also said it's not crazy. Because some of these fixes have been kind of crazy.
I think you're really, really going to like my fix.
Jay, I really, really like most of your fixes.
I know, but I think this one in particular you are going to really enjoy.
Okay, Jay. Fix it.
Okay. My fix.
Yes.
My thesis statement of my fix is that
I love thesis statements.
As someone who like really was into like Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop role-playing games, but lived in the Midwest, and it dealt with there was a lot of stigma around Dungeons and Dragons, like a lot.
Yeah.
And so like I want my movie to kind of change hearts and minds about D&D.
Sure.
And I want to show like how beneficial this game can be. Mm-hmm. And how I think it it's like a really cool thing.
Yes.
I know that sounds oversimplistic. My movie opens in a suburb outside of Chicago.
Okay.
It opens on our hero, Jason, who is getting ready for high school. And it's a montage of him getting all of his stuff together and him, prepping his dice bag and putting it in his backpack and like getting ready for school. And his, mom's like, it's time to go to school, Jay. And I'm like, I know, Mom, I know. And she's like, oh, your shirt came, like it's on your bed. And he's like getting dressed for school, and he picks up the shirt, and it says Northwestern. And he's like, and he hesitates for a minute, puts it down, and then he puts on his shirt. And it just it has this like rad dragon on it, and underneath it just says the Crawlers.
Cool.
And he basically like he's like, you're picking up Rob, right? It's like, yeah, of course I am. He gets in like his old kind of crappy car. It's his senior year of high school.
Sure. Yep.
He picks up his buddy Rob, who gets in, who's wearing like the same shirt. And the whole while they're driving to high school, they're talking about like, oh man, like it's final session today. We're finally gonna kill the Lich. Today. Like, can you believe it? Like, it's been a whole year building up to this. Like, where we have located the Lich's phylactery.
Oh,
we just have to get through the dungeon, and we're gonna destroy the Lich. Like, this is gonna be incredible, man. Like, I can't wait. And then Rob keeps talking, and then eventually brings up, and then next year when we both go to Illinois, like, we're gonna we'll be able to play D&D for like forever, man. And Jason's just like, yeah, man, yeah. We actually kind of need to talk about that. And he's like, oh no, like, dude, I don't want to talk about anything else other than the game today.
We just got
to get through school.
Yeah.
So that they get to school. Clearly, they're not very popular.
No, of course not.
But as the montage of like getting into high school and like all that, we start meeting the other characters. Jason and Rob get to their lockers, and then they're approached by Katie, who's kind of a little bit of a tomboy, and also they get mad at her for not wearing her crawler shirt,
right.
And then she shows them she's actually wearing it. She's like, yeah, but it's like, this shirt's kind of lame, but I made it cooler, and like it's like tie dyed or something. Like,
cool, yeah.
She's just a little weird, but it becomes apparent that like Rob is just basically like, so like, it's senior year, man. Like, are you when are you gonna like finally ask Katie out? Like, when, like, it's like, yeah, we're going to like, we're going to college, we're going to different schools. He's like, yeah, well, you have a fun summer. Like, she's an important person to you. Like, I feel like you should let her know like how you feel. And Jason's like, it's not that simple.
It never is. Yeah,
it's never that simple. And then we meet the fourth character, who is Tim the Bard, and Tim the Bard he's a tiny little nerd, and he loves Dungeons and Dragons so much, and he is the brand of D&D that really likes to dress up. And so for the final game, like, he has his whole cosplay, and he has his little lute that he knows how to play.
Okay.
And he's just like, hey guys, like, hey, like, he's a little shy, but he can play. He's like, I learned how to play the lute, you guys. Like, I have some fun songs for my spells today. And they're like, oh, okay, Tim, yeah, cool, man. And they all eventually end up in homeroom with Mr. Williamson, who is their homeroom teacher, but he is also their DM.
Oh, that's cool.
He's like, oh man, he's like, the crawlers, dungeon crawlers. You guys excited for today? Like, the Lich's dungeon, you have no idea. And they're all like, yeah, man, like, oh, like, and Katie's like, oh, I'm kind of nervous, like, I don't know, like, and we're kind of limping into this one after that last fight. And he's like, oh, we'll figure it out, blah blah blah, like, just talking shop and stuff. And eventually, there is a bully in the class,
of course,
named Brad, and Brad really has it out for Tim,
of course,
and that comes to light through like homeroom shenanigans, and eventually Mr. Williamson like disciplines Brad for bullying Tim.
Good,
and it's just like, but Brad, it's like the kind of thing. Brad's kind of a jerk, but he's like not. But he's not cruel. He's just kind of like it's one of those bully situations where it's very clearly like he's just acting out because he doesn't necessarily have like folks.
Okay.
Not like folks like parents, but like
sure.
He just doesn't really have.
He doesn't
anybody.
have a clique. He doesn't have a group.
Yeah, so he's just kind of
he's a lone wolf.
And he's like, you know what, Brad, that's attention.
He's not an irredeemable bully.
No, in no way. But eventually, like as everyone's leaving homeroom, Brad is Mr. Williams stops Brad is like, look, you can do detention, or you can come play with us today. Brad's like, I don't want to play Dungeons and Dragons.
I'm not a nerd.
He's like, or you can do detention. And he's like, if I'm looking at your record, like if you get one more detention, like you're going to summer school, right? Like you're going to summer school, or you can come play D&D with us. And the crawler's like, no, like, this is the last. It's like, no, like I think it'd be interesting. He's like, I have a character for him. He's like, I've got some sheets laying around. We can get him up to speed. And the dungeon, they're pissed.
Of course.
And so the whole time, like they're at lunch and they're like talking about like how mad they are that like, and Tim's like, I don't know, it might be kind of cool. And they're like, shut up, Tim.
This is our thing.
Yeah. And so. It comes to like they get to the end of school, and all of the dungeon crawlers show up to play D&D, and they show up to Mr. Williamson's room, who's in the interim has kind of like decorated his classroom.
That's awesome.
To like really like be like he's like, what? Oh, so you're here to take on the delicious lair? And Brad's like, whatever, this sucks. And they start to play Dungeons and Dragons. I'm not gonna like we
can't go. Yeah, we don't have to go through the whole thing. Yeah,
but they now in my mind, this when they go into game, different set of actors.
Okay, I was gonna ask.
Like we're gonna see like fully fleshed out gameplay, but it's gonna be a different set of actors. But like it's gonna be like there's a Jumanji kind of vibe.
Yes,
where they're like I like the idea of like really serious action stars playing these characters, but like kind of also being teenagers.
Oh yeah,
playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, like Jumanji. Yeah.
So
it's like how they did the Corridor Crew did the Son of a Dungeon.
A little bit, yeah.
I mean, it will be different actors, but like they are narrating, they're playing the game, and they go into the game to show the action. Yeah,
Katie plays a barbarian.
Cool.
And I think this like there's like a little montage of them introducing their characters
to Brad. Yeah.
Like like I'm Katie. I play the barbarian. Jason is the cleric of the group. He's the healer. Rob is the rogue, and he is the gung ho rogue. Tim the bard is a bard.
No.
Tim the bard is a bard. And then Brad is given a sorcerer.
Okay.
And Brad is like, he's like, no, like I'm the big tough guy. Like I want to be a big tough guy. They're like, no, like Katie's the big tough guy. Like we kind of need like an offensive caster. So like a sorcerer is like perfect for you. Like it's perfect for the group. And he's like, oh, I just want to be like the big tough guy. And so our adventurers show up at like the opening to this dungeon, and Brad is like, this is so cool. I guess, and like Mr. Williamson is describing like the opening to this, and Brad's like, he's like, what do you do? And Brad's like, well, I'm the big tough guy. I'm just gonna run in, and then you just see a sequence of Brad's character just running in and just getting eviscerated by a bunch of traps, and Mr. Williamson's like, whoa, and then like it like reverses like puts his body back together. Like, whoa, Brad, I don't think you understand. Like every action in this game has consequences, just how like you being a jerk in class has consequences of you being here. I really want to drive home the.
Oh, I know exactly what you're trying to drive home, and I love it.
And Brad's like, oh, okay. Like, hey, just like, what do you like? What would be the smart thing to do? And Brad's like, well, I guess, I mean, if there's traps in there, like we should, like, how can we get around them? And you see a moment where he is kind of like gets called out for being stupid.
Yes.
And there's like a little bit of a break in his wall, and Rob is just like, oh, well, I'm a rogue, like I can check for traps. And they're like, oh, and he does that and like rolls really well, and everyone's just like, yeah, awesome. And he's like, Rob disarms the traps, and like and then they make their way into the dungeon, and Mr. Williamson to Brad is like, look, if you if your character dies, like you die and then you're out, like that's just kind of how this works. And then Brad's like, oh, so if I die, I'm out. And Mr. Williamson's like, that's not I see what you're trying to do there, bud, but that's not how this goes. It's like, whatever, okay. Like, his attitude's kind of coming back a little bit. And so they make their way through the dungeon. I feel like there's a couple of sequences of them like just like figuring out some puzzles, them fighting some zombies here and there. And eventually they kind of come to like the opening to like the second layer of the dungeon. Like this is kind of like the first like mini boss.
Sure.
And they figure out that like eventually like it's a beholder. Yeah. Which I thought actually the beholder design in the D&D movie was pretty good. I thought
sure.
it wasn't half bad. It just didn't make any sense.
The design was fine. It just, the way it was put into the film did not, like, oh my God, that's a really bad CG. This looks so fake. Why did you put it in there? It didn't need to be. Oh God, why? No. Ugh.
And all the while, like all of these fights, like leading up to this mini boss, like whenever Tim is casting his little bard spells, like he has like little songs the whole time, and like they're kind of giving him a hard time about it, and they're kind of he's not really that good at the lute, and he's like really trying,
yeah.
But they're like kind of giving him a hard time, but like eventually they get to this beholder fight, and it's the kind of thing where the party is trying to decide like, we might be able to sneak by this thing. Like, we might not have to fight this. Like, we might be able to, like, trick it or, like, do something. And as they're deciding, Brad decides that he's going to Leroy Jenkins.
Yeah, fireball.
He's just, like, he kind of looks at his watch and he's like, man, we've been here for a while. Like, screw it. And he casts a spell to, like, fight the beholder. And eventually, you know, they have to, like, oh, crap, Leroy ran in. They fight the beholder. And eventually, like, Brad's character goes down.
Yeah.
In the fight. And I think I like the idea that Tim gets the eventual like kill on the beholder, and everyone's like, "Oh, great job, Tim!" But Brad's like, "Cool, I'm dead.
I'm out.
I guess I'm out.
I can go home.
I guess I'm out." And then Mr. Williamson is like, "I don't." He's like, "You think you're really clever, huh? Okay. I'll show you what real clever is." And then Mr. Williamson starts spinning this narrative about how as the beholder dies, like the spirit leaves the body, but then like inhabits Brad's character's body. And he's like, and then you pop up a level 13 hexblade warlock, and powered by the undead spirit of the beholder that killed you. Like you are a warlock.
Here's his new sheet.
Yeah,
Yep.
Here's your new sheet. Like powered. I thought you were gonna try to pull something like this. So yeah, you're a warlock powered by by the beholder. But I was like, oh man. But he was like, oh, what warlocks? There's like, oh, like another spellcaster. And then Mr. Williamson kind of like starts explaining to him like what's a warlock, like what a warlock is, and like, oh, you have this patron, but like the power isn't yours. Like it's like powered, like there's some like evil force like powering your power. And it's like one of those things where it's like as he's explaining like what that means, like it kind of hits home with Brad, and he's like, oh, okay, cool. So I have like evil magic, and he's like, yeah. He's like, rad, cool, awesome. And then he kind of starts to get into it a little bit, and then he's like, oh, now I can like, oh man,
get up in there a little bit.
I can get up in there and like blast them. They're like, yeah, man. What do you think we've been doing the whole time? like I have swords.
I've been raging. I've been raging. Yes.
Yeah. And it gets to a point where they find themselves in a they make their way down further into the dungeon, and they find themselves the party gets split, and Brad, Katie, and Tim are fighting a manticore.
Okay.
But all the while, Jason and Rob are like pulled into a side chamber in which they are basically like, there's two crystals in this room, and one it's like they learn from like the writings on the wall that like one of these is an enfeeblement crystal and one is an empowering crystal, and like they have to remove them from the dais, and each of them have to pull them off in order to escape this room and go help their friends.
Right.
the whole time that they're like having this discussion between the two of them, it gets really heated, and then it eventually comes out that like Rob is like, I need the empowerment crystal for my character because I'm going to be the one that's going to like stay in town for college, and I'm going to be the like actually need to play my character, and you're going to Northwestern, so why do you care if your character is getting enfeebled? Like, why do you care? And Jason's like, how did you know? He's like, your mom told me. I called to see if you were home, and your mom was like, oh, did you hear about Northwestern? Like, you couldn't even tell me about it? Like, and they have this whole big conversation about the friendship. Rob grabs the empowerment crystal, and Jason grabs it, and like eventually like, so they're like not in a good space.
Yep.
They run out. Rob just like murks the mana core and is just like, all right, let's keep moving, everybody. Let's keep going. And Mr. Williamson's like, let's take a 5.
Let's take it. Yep.
And so like basically like during the break, like Rob and Jason kind of like, you know, go to their separate corners, and yeah, and I think it comes down to like Tim is kind of starting to teach like Brad about like how the game works and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if you actually like really want, like as a warlock, you could probably. Brad's like, yeah, whatever, Tim.
But
That's actually pretty
yeah,
cool.
it's really good.
Yeah. And we come back to session, and I'm gonna fast forward a little bit because I think tropey wise we kind of understand what I'm doing here.
Yes. Teamwork.
It
Friendship.
eventually comes down to the characters make their way down to the Lich's like main chamber. And the whole time, like Jason's kind of been flirting with Katie, and they've been kind of just like going back and forth. But Rob's kind of fed up with like them flirting, and so finally he's just like Jason, like Katie's never gonna go out with you. Like, I don't know why you keep like pushing this like in the game. Like, can we get our characters back on track, please? Like, the cleric is never gonna date the barbarian. I don't know why you guys are doing this. And like they like kind of just like go into this final fight. Eventually, through the fight with this lich, they take out the lich, but then the lich empowers a bone dragon.
Whoa,
and
cool.
They end up fighting a bone dragon, and everyone's like hitting him with spells, yada yada yada. Eventually, Rob like goes in for a sneak attack, misses, goes down.
Yep.
And basically, Jason like kind of moves in to sacrifice his character for Rob's with a last minute healing spell. Like, gets right in the way of the dragon, heals Rob. But the enfeeblement like crystal like gets in the way, and eventually Rob like switches them to empower his character, but through that swap, that enfeeblement on Rob ends up dropping Rob's character.
Yep.
And so he like tries to heal Rob, but it doesn't work because like he's gone completely down.
Yeah.
And it's Rob like leaves the table. He's like, cool, man. Like, I guess she like, cool, great. Like, kill the dragon, I guess. And so he's kind of sulking in the corner. They eventually like take out the bone dragon, and Mr. Williamson like he basically goes through this whole thing describing like what happens and like the treasure that's like there. And they find they find certain things there. They find an extraordinarily powerful crystal. They find a scroll that they can't necessarily discern like what's on the scroll. And Brad, like hearing about like the powerful crystal and realizing like he's a badass warlock, he's like, cool, I'm gonna take the crystal and I'm gonna get out of here, you nerds. And he takes the crystal, and then Mr. Williamson describes like, I don't think you understand what you just did. And then basically like Brad's character like lifts up into the air and has braced like the spirit of the lich, and he's like, cool, like you feel like the evil start like empowering your body. And Tim's like, no, wait, I cast
Counterspell?
yeah, I cast counterspell on the stone. And Mr. Williamson's like, okay, like what does that look like? And Tim gets up and he sings like he sings like he's like I'm out of songs. I'll just make one up. And he sings like a really, really special and meaningful song
Of course
about
he does.
like what this game means to him and like what everything that like, you know, like all the friendship.
Yes. He sings from his heart.
Sings from his heart. And then Mr. Williamson says, you need to roll. And he rolls. He rolls a nat 1.
Oh no!
No, he rolls a nat 1. But then the camera pans to Brad, and Brad is crying. And Brad's like, Mr. Williamson, I know that's technically a fail, but I think we can all agree that worked. And everyone's like, everyone at the table's like, yeah, man, yeah. Basically, Mr. Williamson narrates like the spirit, you know, leaving, the counterspell working, and Jason casts Identify on the scroll, and it's a scroll of wish, and they go into the whole thing of like what wish is and like what wish is capable of and what wish has the power to do. And Jason, he's like, you could remove the enfeeblement from yourself, because you still technically have that. The power, it's not counteracting. There's a lot of things. There's so many things that you could do here to like, you could fix so many things. Mm-hmm. And Jason is like, the only thing that really matters to me is the rogue, and he uses the wish spell to resurrect Rob's character.
Yeah.
And Rob's like, why would you do that? Like, it's fine. It's just, it doesn't, there's so many other things that you could do in this game. Like, you're not thinking about the metagame. I think that's kind of how you write his character. He's always thinking about like the grand scope of things.
Sure.
So you're not thinking about the metagame. He's like, I don't care about the metagame. Like, I care about you. He's like, you're just, like, it doesn't even matter. Like, these characters don't, like, after today, like, none of this is going to matter anymore. He's like, it's always going to matter to me. It doesn't matter how far away we are from each other. Like, it's always going to matter. And so like they kind of reconcile, their differences, and then eventually, like after those kind of like happy endings there,
sure,
like eventually, Rob's like, hey man, like I think they're on a break at this point, and Rob's like, hey man, like you're gonna have to like it, you got to go for it, man. Like just use the game, like you're like, here's the thing. Like, Jason, you're not really that confident, but like
in
you
character.
as a cleric,
yeah,
like you're unstoppable, man. And so eventually, like he in game, like because at the break, Mr. Williamson's like, oh, like let's take 5 and then we'll wrap everything up.
Sure.
And he basically like approaches Katie's character in game,
right,
and like kind of professes his love for her, but it does not go well with Katie. She kind of her character gets like extraordinarily angry at his, and eventually she's just like, she was like, the cleric doesn't love the fighter. Jason loves Katie. And there's a difference. And you see her like lean up like, and then it like cuts from the game, like to the two of them, and they match eyes. And he's like, yeah, he's like, I just like don't know out of game if I'm brave enough to say it. And she's like, just roll for it.
Oh, shut up, dude.
and he rolls, and as he rolls, she just throws the dice away and kisses him. And it's nice.
It's nice because love is nice.
Yeah, and it's just like one of those things where it's like, I think it's like, and Mr. Williamson like wraps it all up and is like, for those of you moving on, like it's been an honor and a pleasure being your dungeon master, but like I'm looking forward to like the adventure that we start next year. And Brad is like, can I still be a warlock? And he's like, yeah,
sure.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Tim's like, of course, man. Like we can't have an adventure without you. And Brad's like, cool, man. But like, we won't tell anybody, right? And they're like, it's okay. Like, I mean, but we do have shirts. Like, you have to wear shirts. Like, and I feel like that's the kind of thing where like all of them like kind of go out for pizza that night. Like they're like one of those like Pizza Huts with like stained glass.
Oh,
and it's just
old school. Yeah.
And
It's
it's
shaped
just,
like a Pizza Hut. It's got the hut.
it's got and it's just them just talking about their adventures and just kind of like excited for the future. And it's like you get all the adventure, you get all the D&D in there, and I feel like there's just a lot of like this game like brings a lot of people together. And this game like really like I think this game has helped a lot more people than it has hurt. And in this grand stigma around Dungeons and Dragons, and I feel like this game really brings people together and like really like helps people heal, and I really want the movie to show that. I didn't really mean to get that emotional, but it's Dungeons and Dragons means a lot to me.
Jay, Dungeons and Dragons means a lot to millions of people.
Yeah,
because your movie is very good. That's exactly what it should have been.
That's right.
Exactly what it should have been.
Because it's about the game. It's
about
not
the game.
about like so you can tell a rad story, and I think it's important. And I think your fix is maybe the right one, in that like it's important. Like like D&D's like there's some rad stuff.
Yeah,
but for me like that's the heart of what it is.
People are expecting this movie.
Yes,
but the movie they needed to see.
Yes,
is the John Hughes
in the year 2000
is the John Hughes version
Dungeons
and Dragons.
That's exactly what I was going for.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I was like,
you based it out of Illinois, dude.
Well, it's
in the suburbs of Chicago. I was like, oh, this is a John Hughes movie. I
there's also. Did you see the sprinkles of Superbad?
No.
Yeah, Jason and Rob are just the guys from Superbad.
Oh.
Yeah, they're going to different colleges. It's like a whole thing.
No, I haven't seen Superbad in a while.
Oh yeah, it's Superbad. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot more writing in there, but I think that's
sure.
It's more
but
for me. It was
about the heart.
Here's the problems, and here's how here's where people need to be healed, and here's how D&D does that in ways that are legitimately ways that D&D brings people together.
Yeah, this is fundamentally what tabletop role-playing games are supposed to do.
Yeah.
They bring friends together to have fun adventures that bring people closer together. It's teamwork, it's friendship. These, even though they are made-up stories that we are telling each other over a table, using our imaginations, these things mean more to us than a lot of things.
When Jason's character died in our campaign, and we all knew how much that character meant to Jason, we spent how many months campaign-wise? Literally crashing our way through hell to bring him back.
Yeah. To the sacrifice of another character, an NPC.
Yes! We got him back!
We got him back.
We got him back.
I'm glad our DM allowed us to, we're on this venture, we're going to get him back.
Hey, you know all those resources we've been amassing for another goal? We're actually going to use them to bring Jason's character back.
Yeah. My character also took a turn with that death, because I cashed in a thing that I had in my back pocket specifically for we needed to go and bring him back.
And honest to God, it wasn't really about the character. It was more about us as Jason's friend wanted to make sure that he got his character back.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Because that was important, and I wanted to know what happened next, and because in the moment he realized the mistake he made in the play.
Oh yeah.
And Jason, if you're
I will never forget the look on his face.
Yes.
I was like, we will do whatever it takes to make sure you get Sweet Bloom back.
Yes.
Because he is our sweet boy, and we love him, and we love you. And we're gonna get him.
Yeah. There was no stopping us.
It's a big deal.
And I remember afterwards, okay, I cashed my chip, and the DM's like, yeah, great, we're going to hell, and this is all stuff, and we're doing stuff okay, we're on the adventure to get him back, because if we were going to be strong-armed into nope, back to the narrative, the character is dead, I may have stopped playing.
Oh, I know,
because that's not no. This is my favorite TV show that I get to hang out with my friends every week, sometimes every other week, and we go kill things and have good time adventures. And this is the best part of my week.
Yes.
None of the main characters die in my show. I'm sorry. Adversity, sure. Trials and tribulations, absolutely. Teamwork and friendship.
You need to make peace with the fact that somebody may die in bonus action.
I know. I hope not.
I hope not too, but somebody might.
I know. And it'll be good TV. But we'll be really sad.
If it's Brick, I quit. But other than that,
Sweeper Brick's never gonna die. He's a sweet boy. He throws too many fireballs.
everyone loves him. He's so funny. He's the best wolf, and everyone loves him. Or we're getting lost in the sauce.
We
in
are a
major
little
way.
bit. The Dungeons and Dragons means a lot to us. If anything, this episode for the past almost 2 hours at this point proves that like we really care about this game, and it means a lot to us. And just the general being able to hang out with your friends and have adventures that are really meaningful, even though they are completely imaginary and made up and just in our brains, they are some of the most important things to us in our lives.
Yeah,
And that's why the game is important. That's why what's happening right now is also important, because it's not threatening completely, because people will find a way, but just like it's kind of just like, that's mean, man. Don't be mean. We're trying to. This is important to
it's
people.
frustrating because D&D I think has become a tent pole for a safe space and a tent pole for people who may not belong other places to find community. And I just hope that this new OGL stuff doesn't ruin that. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, everybody, thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. We love making this show, and we're so glad you're here. If you're listening on any of the audio formats, if you wouldn't mind leaving us a review, leave us what your D&D character is. What do you like to play? What do you like to do? If you wouldn't mind leaving us 5 stars down there, it actually does. It makes a huge difference, and we really appreciate those of you that do it. And also tell your friends. If you're watching this on YouTube, just remember to like, subscribe, and hit that bell, and do that YouTube that you do so well. Guacamole's extra. You dungeon fighting weirdos, you. And as we end every episode, and as it's been on my shirt the entire time, and you may not have been able to see it, this was my Christmas present from producer Brian. Heartbreak feels good in a place like this.
It's the slow dagger from a flanking position with advantage. And also a fury of the small. That you don't see coming, Jay.
Have a great night, you guys.
Bye.